Hi. Well, I hope you'll join me as I start a new series of devotionals that deal with one of my favorite subjects, and that's spiritual gifts. 1 Corinthians 12:4 to 11 talks about some of these gifts, but is quick to point out that each gift given is for the profit of all. Romans 12:3 to 8 cautions us to be humble with these gifts, not thinking that one gift is greater than the other. 1 Peter 4:11 exhorts us to use these gifts with the ability which God supplies, that in all things God may be glorified through Christ Jesus, to whom belongs the glory and the dominion forever and ever. Let's start with the gift of hospitality. I bet you didn't know that was a gift. The dictionary defines this as the friendly and generous reception and entertainment of guests, visitors, or strangers. Now, I might assume that you may wonder why this is a biblical gift. So let's look into that a little bit. Just think about how many times Jesus was a guest in someone's household. Would an inhospitable person want to entertain the Son of God if he or she didn't have the desire to give the very best to him? Hospitality, however, doesn't mean you have to have a beautiful home and a lot of money. Hospitality is the relationship between a guest and a host, regardless of their place in society. Hence, the encyclopedia defines this as the virtue of a great soul who cares for everyone through the ties of humanity. Now, I have to admit, this is not one of my gifts. I came from a family of very strong women, and many of them had these gifts, but it didn't pass down to me. This was really evident when many years ago Jim brought a homeless man home for dinner. I had no warning. As usual, I had plenty of food because I always did and still do cook too much for one meal. But for me, that wasn't the issue. The issue became that I forgot that in the Bible, in Hebrews 13:2, we need to extend hospitality to strangers as well as people we know or are related to. Excuse me. After we had dinner with this man, and he regaled us with stories of his life in another part of the country, he offered to do a charcoal drawing of our 15-year-old daughter. Okay. Our son had art items in his room, so our guest went to drawing our daughter. He had talent. There was no doubt. And then he asked for money. My strained hospitality attitude did a nosedive, and I could hardly wait until he was gone with his shopping cart of his worldly possessions. After Jim got home from delivering him back to his tent, I admit I was a little bit miffed. Then, as usual, Jim reminded me about some of his childhood experiences where his mother was absolutely positive that they had been blessed by angels disguised as strangers and homeless beggars. And I don't doubt that she was right. That day may have changed me forever and made me realize that God may send strangers into our lives in order to test our love for all of his children, not just those who live in houses and have food in their refrigerators. I managed to feel appropriately sorry for my attitude. It was a very hard lesson. Where would we be without people who have the gift of hospitality? There'd be no free lunch program at the church, no pantries for food giveaway, and No wonderful get-togethers for any occasion that calls for one. If hospitality is one of your gifts, do you know it and do you enjoy it? If you answer no, then maybe you should look closer at those things you love to do for others. We'll look at more of these gifts next time. Meanwhile, may God grant you always a sunbeam to warm you, a moonbeam to charm you, a sheltering angel so nothing can harm you, laughter to cheer you, faithful friends near you, and whenever you pray, heaven to hear you. May you be blessed today and tomorrow as well.